Radio show. Today we're live in the KHTS studio in downtown Newhall, California, hanging out with my lovely co-host, Ellen Tunick. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
How was your vacation?
It was joyful. It was peaceful, loving, and amazing.
Well needed, right?
Yes.
We need to take care of ourselves more often.
Yes, we do.
And really surround ourselves with loved ones and learn
water.
And water.
And water.
Yeah. And create a safe, loving, neutral environment for us to tolerate each other and not get on each other's nerves, right?
Everybody went with that in mind.
I love it. And is that different than you've normally gone on vacation?
Well, if you remember one of our first shows,
yeah.
I always had, we're going to Hawaii. I'm taking my family, and I am now responsible for all of their happiness.
That's true. I remember that show.
Remember that?
That was a great show, yeah.
And I went this time with, I'm going for my own peacefulness, my own happiness. They're responsible for their good time, but we all talked a lot about being mindful.
I love that.
And so it was everybody just came together. Everybody was peaceful and mindful and loving and caring, and a lot of laughs.
And I want to point out that you caused that. You co-created that with your intention, with, the new awareness and realizing that you have to give up the control because you can't control other people, and just part of you surrendering that, and also creating the dialogue beforehand so that it gets everybody on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It was great.
Yeah. So if you're just joining the show or it's first time listening to the show is all about life coaching, how to create maximum value for yourself from a life coach or from the simple willingness to be open to all possibilities. When you're open to all possibilities, someone, whether they're a life coach or a friend or someone that can see something you can't, when they point that out to you, you have a new awareness, a new aha moment to go, oh my God, I never saw it like that. And when you're able to see things you couldn't see before, all of a sudden it opens up new possibilities to make different kinds of choices, thus creating different results. The show is more of a series called Helping You Reach Your Full Potential. And today's topic, I want to talk about seniors. And the show topic is going to be why seniors give up or stop trying. Now, why do you think, and maybe it's just an assumption I'm making, but I kind of look at it as an observation. I've been observing more and more in my last, 18 years of consciousness and awareness and just observing people. I notice more and more seniors slowly either stop trying or they give up on things. And I want to ask you,
as a senior,
why? What do you think it's about? And then we could talk about why I think it's happening.
Okay. There's a lot of reasons why I believe seniors give up.
Including yourself.
Including myself.
And what are they?
They are getting to a point where you feel irrelevant.
Okay.
Most seniors at my point have retired, so we validated ourselves our whole life with our careers, our jobs, our parenting, something outside of just our souls and ourselves. And now when that goes away, you don't know how to replace it. A lot of it also is the physical aspect. There's a lot of seniors that are just physically tired. And when you are physically tired, you get emotionally tired. And it makes you retreat to the couch. And when you sit on the couch, you atrophy emotionally, physically, spiritually. And it's just this process that happens to seniors. That's my take.
Okay, and I like it. It's very insightful, especially I never really thought about, if and when you retire, there's a possibility that you have put your whole existence and your own purpose and self-worth tied to a title, right? Like I'm the CEO of this company. Now that I'm retired, I'm no longer that. Everything that came with that package, right? I'm not important anymore. Sometimes we're a leader in a certain community activities that we do or at our job. And once that role is gone, once that no longer hold that title and no one is interacting with me like that anymore, then who am I? And it's a great topic to talk about, especially like mothers who when their kids are young, they take on that mother role. And when they put their whole heart and soul into being a mother, right? That's the title. And then all of a sudden, Johnny and Jennifer now go to college and they leave. And then you can be sitting there going, who am I?
Who am I?
I've been mom for so long, I don't even know what else to be. And it's very important.
The same thing.
That's important to point that out, that as a senior, you could have been really attached to your titles and given your self-worth to a certain title. And when it's no longer there anymore, you now starting to question, who am I? What do I have? What do I have of value anymore? And then it must be challenging to look around and see other people or younger people coming up the ranks that you either don't understand. And that can just go down this whole psychological tube of beating yourself up, judging yourself.
Well, and that talks to and speaks to the irrelevance. At some point, you're listening to social media, you're listening to young people, and when, it's a whole new generation that's coming through, and you don't have any idea. So you don't know how to be relevant in that new culture. And so for me, the first day that I woke up, which was, thank God I woke up, and didn't have to go to the office. Knowing that moment was coming scared me to death. And we chatted about it. So I've worked since I was 15 and a half years old. I took a small time off to have my kids, but went back to work, owning my own company for 20 years, being that CFO, creating value for the people that worked for me, all of that stuff. But in that process, that became who I was instead of just what I did.
Nice. I love that. So now we're going to do a little real talk.
Okay.
All right. So real talk is the possibility that as you develop and mature in the world from your 20s to your 30s and so on, we gain more information, we get smarter, we become more intelligent. So all that information now is stored in our brain. Now we can hide behind these titles and have developed certain roles that we can stand into and have people interacting with us. And now there's this illusion that I'm somebody specific in the world because I have these titles and I have these roles and people interact with me in that way. What can commonly happen is if we're developing the intelligent part of us in our brain, in our mind, but we're not developing the emotional intelligence in our spirit and our self-worth and knowing who I really am, distinctively separate from what I do and how people treat me, then that's where we can have some trouble on the back end of our life.
Yes.
So this is why this is important for conscious living and deciding that you want to develop the inside in conjunction with your mind as well. We're three-part being, mind, body, and spirit. And if your mind is fully developed and you're intelligent, but spiritually and emotionally we're not developing, there can be the downfall, which is what I call on the back end of your life, where you now all of a sudden feel like you're irrelevant. You don't have a purpose, and that can spiral you down to feeling depressed, feeling unworthy, and just having you now kind of hide out in your home and giving up on life, right?
Yeah, you lose your feeling of value, and it goes to that, so why am I here?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is why it's important, I think, for me, this is my own personal opinion, that as a human being, your job is to keep evolving, not just get smarter, not just read more books and acquire more knowledge, but we have to learn how to evolve as a human being, both spiritually and emotionally, because when you develop a strong emotional and spiritual core, it doesn't matter what you know anymore. It doesn't matter what title you have. You just are so solid in who you are. You don't need to do anything specific. You don't need to hold a title. You don't have to have a role. You get
to be you.
Yeah, you just get to be the amazing you, and your light is shining so bright that you're so fulfilled inside of you that you're not looking for something outside of you to try to fill that empty hole that you have inside because you never developed it. And that's why, I started this journey 20 plus years ago to help teach and inspire and invite people onto this journey called conscious living, which is so I can develop my inside to match the outside and to match the intellect that I have as well. Because if we're not whole human beings, at some point we're leaning on one muscle or one component, and at a certain point, that one component is taking on so much bearing that it can give. Imagine your whole life thinking and filling your brain with so much information, and all of a sudden one day, and you lose your memory. Who are you now?
Yeah. Well, you said something a couple of weeks ago to me that, even our young kids today, they're smarter than we are, but they don't have our wisdom.
That's right. And that's your gift. So seniors, your gift is the wisdom that you've acquired. All the mistakes that you've made that you were able to look back and go, I learned from that. That is what this younger generation doesn't have. They're not learning how to develop that part of them because they're putting so much attention on the information up here. And so there's a distinct difference between being smart or intelligent versus being wise. And you guys have so much in wisdom and insight that you can share with the younger generation. But I feel like you guys discredit it or aren't aware or haven't acknowledged how powerful and valuable it is.
I think it's not understanding that anybody gives a hoot.
And they probably don't.
Until you start to share that.
No, not until you give a hoot.
Not until
No, really, the young kids. If you try to sit down and share some wisdom, and they're gonna go,
What are you talking about?
But if you start to believe that the wisdom you have is important and fight for it, for them to hear it, they'll start to listen.
But they come around really fast because I think they're actually yearning for it.
They are.
But they don't know that.
That's right. They don't know it. And that's what takes the senior to have their wisdom of realizing this kid really wants something from me. And my job as the grandparent or the elder to give this kid this. But if that kid's not going to come begging for it and make it really easy for me, then I give up.
Right.
It takes a wise and secure elder to say, no, I have something to give, and I'm going to try to figure out how to dangle this wisdom in their face until they can't not see it anymore.
Well, for me also, on my journey and learning all of these new things and awakening, is that wisdom can be offered and shared with such joy. It's not about telling them, this is how it is, and this is how you should think, and this is how you should process that. It's about them actually experiencing joyfulness when you share things, because it's infectious. And I saw it in Hawaii, although we were all there, with open hearts and happiness and joy. We did a lot of talking. And when you're joyful, when you're talking, it lifts their spirits, and I saw immediately that it started to open up their idea that, that's a possibility, and that was a great experience for all of us.
I'm glad you shared that, because when we started the show, I asked you to tell me why you thought seniors give up or stop trying. And one of the things that you shared was the physical aspect. You said something like, when we're physically tired, it's very easy to have that physical tiredness, just kind of carry on down to the emotional and the spiritual, to the point where it trickles down. And I'd like to open up the possibility. And the only reason why I'm opening it up is because I've witnessed seniors that are full of life internally. And that feeling of being full of life and having internal passion fuels the physical part of them.
Yes.
So instead of thinking like I have to be physically fit to supply the energy for me mentally and emotionally, what if you decided that the fuel and the juice and the power comes from the inside? So if I can get passionate and excited and feeling some love and some, some of the juice that's inside of me internally, emotionally and mentally, and then have that drive me physically. And the reason why, like I said, I know some seniors that really do some powerful mindfulness in their life. They do yoga, they do meditation, and once they get centered and grounded, that energy, that fire inside of them pushes them physically past things that I go, how are you doing that at 75 years old? Like, how are you doing that at 80? And a lot of times they're like, Alex, I'm so excited about life. Like, it's this internal passion that drives them, and it fuels the physical part of them. So I want to open that up as a possibility if you've never thought it like that, rather than I need to physically cause energy to fuel the inside. Let's think about it in a reverse way.
And it's interesting that you say that, because it's energy, positive internal energy, is not necessarily physical. It's from the mind and the heart and the soul.
But that's what you got to ask yourself. Where does it originate from?
Yeah.
Is it originating from me physically, or is it originating from somewhere deep inside of me?
Well, that's what I am finding out now, is that the energy is not because I just walked a mile or I went to the gym. It's from up here. I can energize. I energized myself from my thoughts, from my love for my family. I mean, that was all. I could feel that energy.
But it's a function that, I just want to clarify, it's a function that's happening internally
Absolutely,
first.
100%.
It's you going inside and flipping a switch and
Yes.
deciding what's important to me, what really matters, what's my purpose, what gift do I have, and do I want to die having all these purposes and gifts and all these beautiful things inside of me? Do I want to die with the music still left inside of me, or do I want to die singing to the very last breath, so that people know, wow, they probably weren't the type of person that was out externally, boisterous, but it was something about them subtly that exuberated from inside of them, that I learned some lessons, that I took away some jewels, that they impacted me with their life from the inside, right, rather than something they did specifically externally from the outside. And so I think that it starts, right, when we talk about why seniors give up or stop trying, I want to say that it's possibly because you've given up internally and you shut down something inside of you. So what do you think it is? What do you think seniors internally have either made up a belief or created a story internally that just decided, I'm just going to stop trying?
Well, I think for my generation, what's happened is we were brought up that, you grow up, you get married, you work, you retire, and then you go away.
Wow. How depressing.
Yeah. And
But
that's a belief system and a story.
It's only a belief. It's only
there's no truth in any of it.
It's only what was just projected to you from that generation, whether it was your uncles or your grandparents or your parents.
Yeah.
It was just a way that people had framed it.
This is how it works.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that that's set in stone. If there's a concept or a theory that you subscribe to 40, 50 years ago, and
how is it relevant now?
It might not be, and it might not be serving you, because it's a different time, it's a different world, there's different rules.
And we can choose what we want to do.
You can choose to reinvent yourself, including the belief system that you have and the assumptions that you made, which is the beautiful part of transformational work and self-development, is recreating myself brand new as a 50-year-old, as a 65-year-old, as a 78-year-old. Whenever I decide to wake up and reclaim my life and redesign it in a whole new way, is the new day that I can start living.
New beginning.
A powerful living. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Marston's Restaurant has been a Pasadena landmark, voted the best breakfast in California by the Food Network magazine. Discover Marston's Santa Clarita location, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marston's also has a fantastic catering menu that adds a delicious twist to any event. And they cater picnic dinners for that memorable romantic date. Experience Marston's on Newhall Ranch Road and McBean, or log on to marstonsrestaurant.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
College of the Canyon short-term classes begin in April and finish in May. Learn a new skill such as photography or career and life planning. Pick up a quick transferable class such as political science or math. Too busy? Take an online class. Textbooks too expensive? Search our class schedule for OER classes which don't require you to buy textbooks. Need to take a class this summer? Our summer schedule is already online. Visit canyons.edu/class schedule now.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Kyle, guess what's coming up?
It's the KHTS Home and Garden Show at Emergency Expo.
April 27th and 28th at Central Park.
Free admission.
Over one weekend, over 20,000 homeowners, Santa Clarita homeowners, visit this every single year.
It's one of the biggest home shows in not just Southern California, but California.
My favorite is the marketplace.
It's local craft stuff. It's awesome.
A lot of activities for the kids. They've got the petting zoo, pony rides. But if you want to be a part of this, there is always room for your business.
That's true. And this is an opportunity that is like no other. You're going to get, like you just said, about 20,000 people over the weekend to come and check out your business. So there's still vendor opportunities available.
That's the only question I have. If a vendor is listening right now and they say to themselves, that's what I want to be a part of, now what?
You can call 298-1220, 298-1220, or go to scvhomeshow.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show. I'm your host, Alex Urbina, hanging out with Ellen Tunick, and we are talking about why seniors give up or stop trying. And I wanted to point out something to you. It's kind of a theory of mine. And the theory goes like this. The world is constantly evolving. That's what it does. It's constantly growing, changing, developing. And as human beings, when we get born into the world, we are now evolving, discovering, growing, learning. I feel like some of us, most of us at a certain point, we stop discovering, learning, and growing to a certain degree. And we are regurgitating the same information like Groundhog Day over and over again. And only picking and choosing things to let in, to learn, if we agree or disagree with them. I don't think that we're staying open-minded to all possibilities and really staying the student. And so I think that we're underdeveloped when it comes to being mature and fully developed as a whole human being, mind, body, and spirit. And so I think at the end of our life, and one of the reasons why this is one of my theories, because I've been observing some elders in my family, and it's heartbreaking to watch them struggle with feeling left behind. And then there's other seniors and elders that I see that don't feel like that because they've been developing themselves and challenging themselves in all areas and all aspects of their life. They've, you know what I mean? They're the ones, yes. They're the ones that, you know, are trying to stay relevant and they might not learn everything and be on top of all of things, but they're learning and they're challenging themselves just enough to stay relevant, to be important, to know that they're important, that they don't feel left behind. So there's something going on with the seniors that have decided that they have fallen behind versus the ones that feel like they haven't. And I'm wondering what's the distinction between the both. And the only thing I can see from an observer is the ones that haven't feel or don't feel like they've fallen behind. They've really given themselves permission to continue to be a lifelong learner. They've been open-minded, and they are open to learning and continuing to discover and learn. And here's one example. Not that my father was highly evolved, but one thing, as just a snapshot, as an example, as I want to share, one thing they did was really inspiring to me was at the time that the internet came out, and I was in my early 20s learning how to navigate the internet. I remember telling him, like, hey, you should learn how to do it. And I remember him saying, nah, like, that's not my thing. And he would say things to me like, you can't teach old dog new tricks and stuff like that. It was so refreshing the one day that he said, he came over my shoulder and he goes, hey, can you look at newspapers from other towns on that thing? And I look back and I go, I think they do have websites for it. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, I'd love to look at the newspaper of my hometown where I came from in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the first, possibility that came up that he was interested now. So he started off kind of, talking down about the internet and not understanding it. And, I'm sure all
he was afraid.
Absolutely. And so he all of a sudden now started looking over and it started to, being inquiring of wanting to find out what was it all about.
What's the next step?
So what
I
did was I went on and typed in his little hometown, and obviously
all this info came
the
up.
Newspaper popped up, and I clicked on it. I said, here, sit down. And he sat down, and I taught him how to use the mouse. And here he is, this little kid, like just scrolling, and his eyes lit up. And I found something for him to be interested in, just enough for him. And so then the moral of the story is, a couple days later, I come in to his house, and he's sitting on there scrolling.
I love it.
And I teared up because it was so inspiring to see this macho guy who, it's like, that's your dad. You don't teach your dad stuff. You don't tell your dad. But when he came around, it really opened my eyes to go, man, he still has the courage to feel his fear, face it anyways, and be willing to learn,
be rewarded,
and to learn.
Yeah.
And then I think about like my aunts, that are my dad's age. My dad passed about 15 years ago or so, but my aunts, maybe like almost 8 months ago, I remember them texting me going, we got smartphones, yay. And it was a big celebration. All the cousins, we were like, hey, good for you guys graduated. You finally turned in those flip phones, and you got your,
so
and it's so inspiring to hear.
My father was always prided himself on staying at the cutting edge. He got on that computer as soon as they came out. He had his son-in-law had to, set it up for him and do all that kind of stuff. But he loved being able to tell people, oh, yeah, all my stocks are on the internet. I go to Yahoo Biz every morning.
Nice.
And he did that till the very end. But that was my dad.
I love that. That's so awesome.
And that's why I'm saying he was always an inspiration to me, because he always was looking for new things, new travels, new gimmicks, new whatever.
And so as you're talking about your dad, I'm having this vision of him deciding that he wanted to stay relevant.
Yes.
So there's a committed effort you make to stay relevant, which doesn't mean you have to know everything. Like, you don't have to know all about the new technology and be on top of everything, because you're not going to, right?
And it doesn't matter.
But it's cool to see, and I think it might be refreshing for some of the young people to see some of the older cats get in there and try to learn, even though you might laugh at them or chuckle. But I think it's refreshing to see, some of the older people going, hey, give me that video game. Let me try to play it. You know what I mean?
But here's another thing. Young people today, my observation, get uncomfortable with old people. They're not comfortable with old people. And old people feel that.
I'm sure they do. Sure they do.
And I always thought, and I put myself in there, when my grandmother hit like 98 years old, I started getting uncomfortable. But older people, as they're, maybe with a cane, maybe with a walker, the hearing aid, the other things, young people are uncomfortable with that.
I think it might be projected and experienced as being uncomfortable, but I think it's more impatience. I think that, the younger generation just haven't developed enough patience yet to kind of tolerate them.
Yeah.
Because they are smart and because they are intelligent and they're thinking 5 steps or even 10 steps down the way, for them to stop and go, all right, let me explain this to you for the fifth time, Grandma. You know what I mean? It literally takes a lot of patience, and
my
they
grandkids
have to develop that.
are they love it when I don't get stuff, because then they can teach me, and they love teaching me stuff.
You're blessed. You're blessed. Another thing I want to point out that is as a possibility for seniors that either give up or stop trying, there's a possibility that if you are falling in that category and you're honest enough and courageous enough to acknowledge that, there's a possibility that you have given up or stopped trying to embrace new things. So earlier I talked about when my dad made that statement that you can't teach old dog new tricks. That's a phrase that I've heard growing up from elders, right?
Yeah.
And it's a phrase, even though they say it, that phrase is actually a belief.
Yeah, it protects them.
And if you have a belief and you're actually saying it out of your mouth, that would explain why you have stopped learning and evolving with the world. Because the world's going to keep evolving, growing, and learning and advancing with or without you.
With or without you. You might as well jump on.
Well, either jump on or jump off. If you've decided to jump off and you're left behind, that's just the consequence that you have to pay for you deciding 20, 30 years ago that you're not going to embrace the world advancing. If you're willing to have the courage to embrace it and not have to be perfect and not have to be the expert, you can still be the student and learn, and kind of you can trail behind it or along with it to some degree where you stay relevant. But if you give up and hold on to those old values and go into resistance to the way technology and the way kids and the way the world and families are today, then you just become this bitter old person who's just going, I don't understand you guys, and I don't understand, you talk too fast, and because
you're always on your phone.
Yeah, so what you've done is you've decided to be in resistance to the advancement and the evolving of the way the world is designed to be, is designed to continue to change. And if you as a senior or an elder haven't embraced the word change, you're going to not change, you're going to be underdeveloped, and you're going to be left behind. I hate to say it like that, but I have to say it.
I have dug my feet in. I will not be left behind.
I love that. That's a courageous statement.
And the kids, all the kids, they're older. They're, 18 to 21 and 22. They all got tattoos while they were in Hawaii. One of them researched the artist.
Found the best one on the island,
the best one, and went down there. I'm not a tattoo person. They all have tattoos. The girl, they went down there and they all got tattoos, and they came back, and it was, I got excited. I got really excited. I looked at each and every one of them, and they were amazing. And they're all saying, come on, Mama, get a tattoo, and I said, I just might. I said, I'm not there yet.
But I'm open to it.
But I'm really open to it. They said, well, you have to figure out what you want. And I said, okay. They were all in a little bit of pain, so that kind of put me off a little bit. But it was like, I'm open to it. And even my daughter's going, Mom, you've wanted one your whole life. Do it.
Yeah, that's the starting point, is stay open to things, whether you want them or not, whether you can justify it or not, whether it makes sense to you or not. If you stay open to possibilities, you just might discover a new beginning. You might discover a new awareness, a new learning. you got to stay open. Once you close your mind and shut it down, lock the door, throw the key away, when there's an opportunity there, you're going to look for the key and you can't find it because you locked it. Don't lock the door. Keep all doors open. Be open to possibilities. Don't be so quick to judge something and go, I don't like this, or this isn't the way it should be. Just go, you know what? I remain open. Let it unfold a little bit.
Right.
Let things change.
Let me process
and
this.
Let me make a decision a little bit further down the road when I have more information and I've tossed it around a few times. But we're so quick to just go, I don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not the way I was raised. It doesn't fit into my box. And so I'm just going to say no to it.
And they were all so excited to show me. Look at this. Do you see how his eye is, I'm going, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the girls, it was freehand. It was the Tree of Life. And the guy had done it freehand. And we talked about, the artistry of freehand tattoo. I mean, it became for me just one more amazing experience that I could share with my grandchildren.
And that whole story is just a symbol for you, and I'm sure there's dozens and dozens of more symbols for you where you're catching yourself going, all right, Ellen, don't be so rigid. Be open to that. Times have changed, right? And be open to change, because change is
it's happening.
It's what the world is demanding of all of us.
And it always has been. It always has been. It didn't just happen now.
No. When you were born, it was constantly going, welcome kid,
already.
Welcome kid to your life of constant change.
Yeah.
And don't get used to the world being one specific way, because it's not going to stay like that forever.
It'll just pass you by.
It's only going to stay like that in your mind, because in your mind you take snapshots of things and go, oh, that's what this is.
Right.
That doesn't mean 30 years from now it's going to stay like that. It's not. You have to learn how to, a little bit at a time, be open to it slowly changing in front of your face.
That's that ability to reinvent, and it's reinventing how you think.
Yeah. Now, what I don't want you to hear, though, is that there's certain things that might change. We don't want them to cross over into the area of things that are bad for us,
right?
Things that are unhealthy, things that have evolved now into having now choose to give up our morals, values, and principles. You still get to stay open to the things,
right,
but still go, no, I know where my morals, values, and principles are, and I'll stand here, and that's okay too. Just because somebody gets a tattoo or somebody chooses a certain lifestyle, if it crosses out of your morals, values, and principles, and that works for you, kudos to you for standing that line and saying, no, these are my morals, values, and principles. That's not what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
What I'm talking about is being open to the possibility, just staying open without being so rigid. And when you get rigid and shut the door, lock it up, and throw the key, then there's no opening for any kind of change, or for you to have later on, 20, 50 years from now, have a different way of looking at it.
Right. It's like, I don't need to judge that. I might not want that for myself, but I certainly don't need to lay out judgment if someone else chooses that.
Yeah, absolutely. So seniors, the show's called Why Seniors Give Up or Stop Trying. When we started the show, you talked about fear. So fear comes up. What kind of fear gets riled up inside of you when you start hitting a certain age? Are you afraid of what? I'm afraid that
I'm going to die.
Okay.
Death comes up.
Okay.
Having physical things happen to you. Fear of not knowing where you fit anymore.
So I think that one of the biggest changes that happens where the fear comes up is when it's time for you to surrender your driver's license, because driving is, a responsibility.
It's your independence.
It's to get up and go, guys, I'm out of here. And you can start your car and
off you go.
Yeah. And so the moment when somebody that you love goes, hey, Mom, I think it's time that you hand this
That'll
key.
be my daughter, Robin.
Yeah.
She's already told me.
So how do you roll with that and not let that pivotal moment define you? because we put symbols of, that's a symbol of my independence. You can still
I still got it. I can get in the car.
Yeah. But how do you recreate something brand new that you can still feel independent without your driver's license? We're going to talk about that when we come back from the break, and we're going to end the show with that. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Life's not meant to feel complacent. It's meant to make you feel alive. The youth ministry at the Church on the Way Santa Clarita believes that students can belong to the group where we will help them believe they have a purpose in Christ and become all that He has created them to be. We want to see God's power come alive in our generation. We love meeting new people, so come hang out with us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and service starts at 7 every Wednesday night. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita, including service times and what's happening through the end of the year, visit tcotwsc.org.
Something big is coming to Castaic.
Is it a dinosaur, Bob?
No, Blanche.
Is it the 2020 Olympics?
No.
I know. We're finally hosting the World Cup.
No, silly. They're building Castaic High.
Bob, no way.
Go visit CastaicHighProject.com. You'll get all the latest details.
What's that web address again, Bob?
CastaicHighProject.com.
Again?
CastaicHighProject.com.
Bigger than a dinosaur?
That's right. CastaicHighProject.com.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. Today we're talking about why seniors give up or stop trying. And if you missed any part of this show, you definitely want to go check it out on our podcast at YouTube, or just go to the KHTS website and try to find this podcast, because I think it's important for you to sit down and, I think at any age, to sit down and listen to the content and the discussion to open up a whole new possibility of, one, how to understand why seniors, have their own fears, and be compassionate towards that. Because, as much as I have perspective and insight and want to share that, I still don't know what it's like to be a senior and to be struggling with that fear. I do know that I have versions of it. So, for example, I remember in my early 20s, I was playing a sport, and we were playing some basketball, some friends of mine, and we actually rolled out this old Chevy antique truck out into the street to play. And then afterwards, we kind of cooled down, our bodies cooled down, and they're like, hey, can you help push it up? Yeah, no problem. So we pushed the Chevy back up, and they locked it in place. Well, that next morning when I woke up, I was stiff. My back had given out on me. So I had to rely on, like, my wife and my mom and, like, loved ones to help put my sock on. So the first time in my life, I felt what it's like to lean on other people to help me. And I remember crying. I remember feeling like helpless and hopeless. And we talk about giving up that independence. That's like, oh man. So I get glimpses of what it must feel like, but I still don't know what it's like to be at that stage where you just are starting to surrender some things. I do know what it's like to surrender my eyesight. Because at 40, I had to get these glasses, right? Because it's like,
can't see anymore.
Yeah, so but I'm so glad that I have adapted to change. I'm so glad I taught myself to learn how to change and learn how to reinvent myself and still try to figure out how to get past it. And so before we went on a break, I was talking about the possibility of losing your license. The time comes where you have to surrender your license, and your license is a symbol for independence. And, this is my right. Now I got to give up my right. And we can make up all these negative stories around surrendering your license, or you can figure out how to reinvent your life now moving forward without my license. And the reason why I know that is because I know people that have reinvented their life without legs. People that have had amputations. I have no arms. I figured out how to reinvent myself.
Uber.
So you can decide that it's just part. It's like
part of the process.
It's part of the process. It's a rite of passage to turn my license over.
Yeah.
And to say, you know what? Here's been a great run. Now I get to figure
and
out how
when
to.
that time comes for me, I'm going to know. I think I'm going to know. Or
Well-
my daughter will know.
Well, you get to, someone will.
Someone will bring it to my attention.
I believe you're conscious enough now and are more aware now that you will have a few scares or certain things will start to be warning signs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it happens, hopefully you're prepping yourself to not be attached to your life looking one specific way.
I'm going to see how I feel when it happens. I don't even want to project. Because when I project, I make up stories. I don't really want to make up a story. I know it's going to happen. So, and I know that I'll be able to walk through that. But I really don't want to think about it.
What if it doesn't happen?
Well, if it doesn't happen,
then
Yahoo to me.
You're worried about it for no reason.
Exactly. So I really don't even want to go there for me personally. I'm having too much fun right now.
Good. Live in the moment.
I'm
enjoying every moment.
Yeah.
And when it comes, I'll figure out at that moment how to deal with it.
I'm sure things will come along that I'll have to figure out while they're happening. But right now, I'm only need to figure out what's happening to me now in the moment.
One of the things, I'm going to try to transition this into a recent scenario I had. Last week, I was invited to speak to some seniors, some grandparents at the senior center here in Santa Clarita. And what they were asking for was how to understand their grandchildren, like how to be more effective with their grandchildren. And it kind of inspired the show today. But it was so inspiring to know that there are grandparents out there that love their grandkids so much, but they also are so aware that they don't understand why their grandkids do what they do. So they invited me to come in as the teen expert and say, this is why your kids do what they do. Well, not only this is why your grandkids do what they do, but also this is why your kids, right, their moms and dads do what they do. So it was very insightful. It was a couple of hours, but I really got to paint a beautiful picture for them to try to understand why kids in today's world do what they do, but also to explain to them how they can shift their role to really support their grandkids. And it was an amazing experience.
It is a transformation. I mean, I've worked on it for the last year, and my role as a grandparent has totally shifted and evolved, and it's much more fun now.
I love some of the questions they were asking, because I did a little Q&A, and some of the questions were like, do they still love me?
Oh.
And I got to be that gift for them and go, absolutely. They still
more
love
than
you.
ever.
Yeah, for sure. And not only do they love you, but they need you. And the reason why they need you, elders, is because their mom and dad are still developing, and still maturing, and they're still trying to figure out who they are in this world and how to make sure that they have enough money to support the family. And they're still trying to figure out their jobs and their careers.
They're in a very different place.
Yeah, and they need an elder in their life. What they don't need is for you to make up stories that you're not wanted and then go hide out somewhere. They need you to decide for yourself that you are wanted, you are needed, even if they don't know it or don't know how to articulate it. And they need you to plug in and just kind of hang out on the outside like a little timeout box so that the kid can come into your room or to come out, to you or come to your home and have a safe, non-judgmental space to share or vent and just for you to be there and love them unconditionally. There's so much that you have to give your grandkids. I don't want you to give up because they need you. And it's very easy, I think, as an elder to decide and create up story and evidence that I'm not wanted anymore in this family.
Right.
And it's not true.
And ask them questions.
That's the best thing you could do.
Ask them questions, So how did you arrive at that? How did you get there?
What are you going to do next?
What are you going to do next?
What did your mom say?
Yeah. I do a lot of that now with the kids, and Do we have time for a quick little
Yeah,
story?
do it.
Oh, okay, I was up in San Francisco with my, I have twin boys, identical twin boys, and we're in the kitchen, and one of them is saying, hey, Mama, can you make me I said, well, I know I can make it. I said, but can you make it? He goes, well, yeah. And I went, well, come on up here, buddy.
And make me one too
And
while
I
you're
said,
at it.
well, let's do it together.
There
And
you
so
go.
we're making a sandwich, and I'm going to cry. He turns to me, he goes, Mama, how did you get to know how to be such a great grandma?
Wow.
And I looked at him and I said, because you're standing right there. I said, you teach me how
You
to
validate
be such a
me.
great,
Yeah.
great grandma. And he went, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was really a beautiful moment.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think that, what you did there in that moment was validate that he now has a relationship with you, and by him being active and engaging in a relationship with you, he gives you your value.
Yeah.
Without saying it directly, it was almost an indirect message like, you validate me.
Yeah.
The loving, beautiful little boy that you are
gives me all the grace and love.
Yeah.
And he got this big smile on his face, and he's 12. No, 11 and a half. He'll be 12. And, it was, my daughter was standing in the back, and she looks, and I just looked at her and I went like this, and I live for moments like that. I love those moments.
Yeah,
They're
but those
special.
moments don't just pop out of the sky. They are created and manifested out of your commitment to be in their life, transparent, but also relevant, and inserting yourself at the proper times with the gift that you have to give, without being too overbearing, right? Without stepping on your daughter's and your son-in-law's toes. And so it's a little bit of a dance.
It is a dance.
But you got to trust yourself.
Not even
on
a
that.
little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us. The good news is we're live here every Friday at noon. Thanks for listening to the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.